I had a herniated disc and I could really do nothing. I couldn't do anything at all. I actually woke up one morning and I couldn't walk. I couldn't get my feet off the bed.
I started experiencing severe backaches. I started having problems with my right leg. Started having issues walking. Couldn't really walk normally. Couldn't do daily activities that I used to do without it bothering my back.
I couldn't move. My whole back and my arms were locked up, and I had such severe pain in my neck and up towards the bottom of my cerebellum that it was unmanageable. Couldn't stand it, you know, it was that bad.
Couldn't do much of anything. I had a difficult time dressing myself, no bending. I could not be on my feet for very long. I could not move in bed when I was laying. I had to have someone, either I had to use my arms to move myself or my husband had to help me.
Many times patients have problems walking, have problems feeling their feet with intractable muscle spasms and pain. And these particular surgical interventions many times addressed almost all of those issues, because not only do they allow for the decompression of nerves and nerve recovery, but they also provide structural mechanical support of the spine, taking away the pain generators of the spine, causing the hardships of intractable pain. The patient conditions which most commonly respond in a very favorable way for minimally invasive surgery would be with patients who have disc pathologies in their lumbar spine, and also conditions of lumbar stenosis, where there's narrowing of the spinal canal and impingement on nerves from bony spurs. Other conditions would be slippages of the spine, so-called spondylolisthesis, scoliosis, and other parts of adult deformity of the spine. The difference between minimally invasive procedures and the more standard spinal surgeries we do is the degree of tissue trauma, the length of the incisions, how much of the spine, muscles, or soft tissues have to be disrupted in order to expose the area. The minimally invasive surgeries require tubes and other types of dilating systems in order to avoid tissue trauma and allow us to accomplish the same type of biomechanical advantage as major open surgeries. I
liked what Dr. Schell offered when I went to see him, because it wasn't as extreme as some of the other procedures that could help me. Dr. Schell offered a very minimally invasive procedure that was attractive because I could recover faster. My hospital stay was going to be shorter. Everything about the recovery process and the actual procedure itself was just a lot less invasive than the other procedures that were out there to help me.
The first doctor told me that I would be facing a 6-hour surgery, a minimum of 6-hour surgery, and he was going to do some things, some screws and some stuff that he was going to put in my back. And Dr. Schell said, I'm just going to do something minimally invasive. It won't take 15 minutes, maybe, you know, the most, 15, half hour, and you'll be out of pain.
I was told that what needed to be done was they needed to do an incision through my stomach. I would have a specialist come in, move all my organs. Then the back surgeon would come in and he would put in a new plate or new cage. Then the other surgeon would come back in, move my organs back where they belonged. They would sew that up, flip me over, cut my back open, and do the screws at that point. That was scary. I just thought there's got to be another way. I'm not even sure I want to fix anything to go that route. Went to see Dr. Schell, and he said I had other options.
Have you been diagnosed with spinal stenosis, bulging or herniated disc, sciatica, or other chronic back conditions? Perhaps you've been told you may need to undergo a long invasive spine surgery. Dr. Gerald Schell offers his patients the latest technology and minimally invasive spine procedures. In many cases, these procedures require an incision of less than 1 inch, which means a shorter recovery time, and you will be up and walking within a few hours of surgery. To see if you're a candidate for a minimally invasive spine procedure, call Schell Spinal today and be on your way to stability in spine and life.
Many people feel that minimally invasive surgeries can be done through tubes with lasers without any type of reconstruction. The minimally invasive procedures that we're talking about is not only going in and freeing nerves or addressing spinal scarring, but also placing implant screws and rods so that the spine can actually be reconstructed and withstand the stresses of day-to-day living. The types of minimally invasive surgeries that are often done many times fall short of the goals because they may go in and free a nerve temporarily, but the mechanics and stresses of day-to-day living often cause further worsening of that particular condition as time goes on. The minimally invasive procedures are used for all types of spinal pathologies. The part of the procedures where we're able to use these techniques really make it much better for the recovery. So in the most advanced spinal conditions, we still use them. But I would say probably about 70% of patients who go through some form of spinal surgery can be done with minimally invasive procedures in outpatient facilities.
I was a little scared going into it, and when I woke up from surgery, I remember one of the very first thoughts I had was, my back doesn't hurt. I don't have any back pain. I was just astounded by that. I really was. I really thought I'd wake up and be in pain from the procedure, and I had no back pain when I woke up. And that was, to me, that was just incredible. I had had backache for so long that I didn't remember what it was like for my back not to hurt.
Because of the surgery that Dr. Schell performed on me, I was able to, regain my mobility and, go back to work, get in and out of my car, in and out of bed easily, in and out of the shower, use the restroom, all that kind of stuff, get dressed. And before the surgery, I was struggling with all that.
I am very mobile now, very little pain the day after surgery, and it's progressed to be no pain. I'm grateful.
Patients who have had these procedures and have severe pain will immediately feel the benefit of the procedure. Oftentimes, even though there's pain of surgical intervention, the relief immediately after surgery outweighs that of the surgical pain. With a minimally invasive procedure, the patients are up immediately. They are done oftentimes in outpatient surgery centers and can oftentimes return to work, which does not require major lifting, within several days. Major invasive pedicle screw open surgeries can take up to 18 months to heal. Many times patients are left with permanent restrictions, and in terms of back to work with even limitations, often it's several months.
Everything about the procedure Dr. Schell offered was going to be better for me, a quicker recovery, the recovery process itself was going to be a lot easier. The procedure in the hospital was going to be a lot easier than other procedures that were being offered.
We felt there needed to be a better way to do these spine procedures. Most of the innovations that have been developed by implant companies who have a staff of engineers. Approaches are being utilized throughout the world. There's very little understanding, and there needs to be a uniform strategy on how to treat such a large population. We were able to get a group of engineers who actually agreed to come to the operating room and spent well over a year in the operating room with the drawings, looking at the challenges and problems that we had when trying to apply these newer type technologies, and found that the solutions became much easier when we had the engineers in the operating room working with us. The office settings in outpatient surgery centers are now available to treat most painful spinal conditions. The office setting, we can do pain procedures such as cervical epidural injections. We can place pain stimulators in the spine. We can do rhizolysis, where there is freezing of the pain generators in the joints of the spine. And we can do kyphoplasty, or balloon placements of fractures. All those can be done in an office setting. In the ambulatory surgery, which is an outpatient surgical center, most of these minimally invasive surgeries are being done now throughout the United States.
When I got to the hospital, I was treated just wonderfully. Is there anything we can get you? Do you have any questions, any concerns before your surgery? When I woke up from the surgery, somebody was right there. Dr. Schell checked on me constantly. His bedside manner is like talking to your best friend instead of talking to, this real professional person that you're not really sure what you should say or shouldn't say. It's like having your best friend there because he really cares.
I commented to my husband after our first meeting with Dr. Schell that he sat down like we were the only patient he had that day. There was no rush. He made sure that every one of our questions were answered, asked a couple of times if we had any more questions. It was very relaxing. I mean, it just sat down and talked about me and what my options were and what he thought would be the best procedure to fix my problem.
I think we've come a long ways with our development of techniques which allow us to straighten up spines that are crooked, unpinched nerves, and create a quality of life that is now possible as compared to what it was at 30 years ago. I think the way that we're at right now with the minimally invasive surgeries is taking it to its height, where we can now take spines, decompress nerves, reconstruct them with minimally invasive procedures, very atraumatic for patients with excellent outcomes. I think where we're going in the future is with biologics that are being investigated. Things like stem cell research, adult stem cell transplantations, in combination with a variety of these now traditional type procedures. The exciting thing about the minimally invasive procedures is the years of failed back surgeries are almost over. We are now taking these procedures all over the world. We've trained numerous surgeons in China, and in the next several months plan to train over 100 skilled spinal surgeons these new techniques.
I run this farm, I do my own hay, I drive a tractor, I ride a horse, I do whatever I want, and I don't have any pain.
I'm looking forward to this next venture through my life because of what I missed out on prior to my surgery.
Absolutely life-changing. He saved my life. Bottom line, there's no doubt about it.
I had to have my husband help me walk because I couldn't walk the same anymore. And Dr. Schell gave me all that back.
Have you been diagnosed with spinal stenosis, bulging or herniated disc, sciatica, or other chronic back conditions? Perhaps you've been told you may need to undergo a long invasive spine surgery. Dr. Schell Spinal offers his patients the latest technology and minimally invasive spine procedures. In many cases, these procedures require an incision of less than 1 inch, which means a shorter recovery time, and you will be up and walking within a few hours of surgery. To see if you're a candidate for a minimally invasive spine procedure, call Schell Spinal today and be on your way to stability in spine and life.
Following my minimally invasive procedure, I'm doing almost everything and then some. I don't have backaches, I don't have leg pain. I wake up and I feel great. The recovery process was wonderful. I can do everything I want to do now. I can be a part of my kids' activities, I can go for walks, I can do things at the gym that I used to do, and I just have my life back.
Call Schell Spinal today and be on your way to stability in spine and life.